Alright, today we're going to be going over a really simple task, but one that I feel can help fill in some blanks if you're curious how the setup is basically laid out. And this is in relation to the custom horn buttons that I create. So, with any custom horn button, you've got a few pieces here. You've got the horn button itself. You can kind of see top side, bottom side, right? And you have a retainer slash centering ring, and that you can actually see on this particular wheel. This one happens to be a Sparco brand wheel, and you can see it sitting in the center. So essentially the way that it goes is you'll have your hub, and this is whether it's a hub that attaches right to the steering column, quick release hub, etc. And you are ultimately going to have this piece go behind the wheel, and essentially it's very thin, sheet metal that's formed into this shape. This is going to get sandwiched between the wheel and the hub, and what that provides you is a universal shape, so that way the actual button itself can stay centered and snug in the center of the wheel. So since I have one loose, we're going to go over what it looks like and kind of what you can expect to see, almost as if you had a blown up version of behind the wheel. So when we assemble this, we have usually a little clip in most horn buttons here. And we'll have this positioned here. So ultimately what you're going to do is it goes this way. The lip itself protrudes out and goes through the steering wheel. That's how that's supposed to go. Rather than it being this way, this is not how you do it. This is the direction in which it should go. What you're going to see when you assemble it is you basically want to take this clip and put that in first, so that will go over the lip. And then as soon as that's there, when you push it in, it's nice and snug. Right, so it's a pressure fit. There's no screws or anything of that sort. And the nice thing about that is that will allow you to center the actual button design, so it's not sitting cockeyed or anything of that sort. And you can center it perfectly straight. So when you look at it from behind, you can kind of get an idea of what to expect, how it's going to look like behind the wheel, which is a unique view since you'd never really be able to see it with the steering wheel mounted. And we'll pop this one loose, and we'll show you how we would mount it on here. So again, keep in mind where this little clip is, right? And you kind of want to get that in first, and that's going to kind of get you to where you want to be. Then you'll still be able to turn a little bit. Make sure your wheel's centered, make sure your button is centered. And I'm going to stand up for a moment just to make sure it is. And then what you'd want to do from there is just push your button in. It's all pressure. Make sure it's centered. The other thing I would also suggest is, just in case you have any deformations with your particular centering ring or anything of that sort, you never know. Maybe it got bent at some point of changing buttons through the years and things of that sort. Just give the wheel a spin and check and make sure that everything is sitting flush from the button to the flat part on your steering wheel. Give it a spin, make sure it's flush. And then, of course, on this particular example, this is more or less just a display. It's actually on a simulator chassis. But if this was in a real car, the only step you would have in between is, of course, hooking up your pre-existing horn wires to the horn. I would probably test it before you push the horn button in, only because you won't have to deal with removing it. But again, since it is pressure, we'll show the kind of the reverse. So ultimately, I just grab it from the side, pop it loose. Hopefully you get quick reaction and you can catch it. And that's pretty much it. And that is how you install one of the horn buttons properly, what the assembly looks like in terms of pieces and things of that sort. And then in this particular instance, I am running a pass-through spacer. So, this is just general knowledge, but if you add a spacer to something, and it happens to be a pass-through and it doesn't thread into the other end, You of course want to make sure you've got proper length and plenty of thread on those steering wheel bolts. And not just that, but that the steering wheel bolts have a good strength rating to them too, and they're made out of the right materials. So other than that, if you got any questions, just reach out to me on the site. It's www.builtinvain.com, and hopefully this helps answer any questions that you might have when it comes to installing your custom steering wheel horn button. Thanks.